Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and today we're going to look at the best of games created using the Godot Game Engine. Now, how do I come up with best of? Well, mostly I pull it out of my own butt. This is sort of a combination of best selling on Steam, highest profile, and we're going to follow this up with some of the things that are actually in development as well. So, the Godot Game Engine definitely has the smallest game portfolio out there. If you're interested, I'm probably going to do one of these for Unity and Unreal Engine as well. Do let me know in the comments down below if you would be interested in seeing the best of Unity and best of Unreal Game Engine games as well. But first, let's do the Godot stuff now. We're going to start things off with, well, quite frankly, my favorite. So that's how I'm picking option number one, and that is the game called Brotato. Now, Brotato basically is an evolution of the Vampire Survivor genre, and it is just massively, horrifically addictive. It's basically, you are a heavily armed potato. And that's about it. It's a very addictive game. It's also selling incredibly well, and it has some very good reviews out there. I think Brotato is probably the success story among success stories when it comes to the Godot Game Engine. After that, we come into what is, in all honesty, probably not a very good game. It's Sonic Colors Ultimate. It's mixed reviews, but the big thing about this one is it's a Sonic game, and it's published by Sega. This is definitely the most high-profile project yet with the Godot Game Engine. Again, not a particularly good game, but that's kind of true of most Sonic games these days, but is definitely one of the more higher exposure titles that they've had out there. Next up, we have a Backpack Battles. Now, this one is, well, the description kind of says it all. A PvP, inventory management, auto battler. So you buy and craft powerful items, then arrange them in your backpack, and then the game sort of plays itself. I've never really been into the auto battler thing myself, to be honest, but as you can see from the reviews, all-time reviews, nearly 10,000, very positive. It's, again, selling quite well on Steam, has a rather large fan base. So Backpack Battles is next on our list, and then next up we have Halls of Torment. Now this, again, is a lot like Vampire Survivor had a baby with Diablo. So they've added more of an in-depth inventory system in place. You have a little bit more control over your character than you do in something like Vampire Survivors, and I think it's got a little bit more RPG-esque elements. You can also see from the user interface this is taking a lot of inspiration from like Diablo 2. I am absolutely hooked on these type of games. You're probably seeing a few more Vampire Survivors type games than you might have had on your own list, but at the same time, I absolutely love these style games, and on top of that, 21,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. Pretty solid in that regard. And then we've got what I would say is the weirdest game on this list, but it's actually not. The next one is the weirdest game. So this is the second weirdest game. And that says something because you are a bodiless torso with just one arm dragging yourself around the world. It's kind of a survival style game where, again, you have one arm. So you can either move, or you can equip inventory, or you can fight, and you kind of have to balance all of those things. This one is made by a Godot contributor. He's done a number of tutorials, etc. out there. Very well received. Again, a lot smaller sales than a lot of the other things we've been looking at, but again, this is a weird game. So Endoparasitic, next up on our list, but this is not the weirdest game. This is Cruelty Squad. Now, Cruelty Squad is insane. I don't think there's another way to put it. This is not a game that tried to be a good game in any meaning. It's sort of like GeoCities, the website, the video game. It is absolutely, utterly bonkers. I've only ever watched it played. I've never played it myself, but this one has a huge following behind it, as you can see by the 16,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. And it is mostly on this list because, like I said, it is the most insane game made with the Godot Game Engine. And then we've got Cassette Beasts, which is a 2D RPG style battler in the vein of Pokemon. So you're, acquiring monsters, training them up, battling them against other people. It is an RPG style game. Again, if you're from the RPG Maker and the Mario Paper RPG or whatever it was called, kind of has that artistic style with the gameplay of Pokemon. Really popular in that regard. Again, 6,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews going on with that one. So that is Cassette Beast. Now we've got Dome Keeper, so you're defending against waves of alien attackers. This is a roguelike survival mining game. So you dig for resources, choose from powerful upgrade paths, and you're basically trying to defend as you go through it. Again, another one with very positive reviews, overwhelmingly positive recently, but 10,000 very positive reviews, has sold quite well on Steam since it was first released. And now we're getting into the coming soon section. So we've got a couple of the higher profile games that are in development. One thing you've probably noticed so far, not a lot of 3D titles. Well, that is definitely changing with Godot 4 and games that are being developed using Godot 4. This one is not that style. This is more of a, what is the Braid? No. Yeah, it was Braid, I think. The one with like the black and white kind of contrasted background. I might be mixing up my indie games there, but this is one in development. I do like the art style on it. It is Fist of the Forgotten, so a platforming style game with, again, that black and white contour sort of art style. Nah, it wasn't Braid. This is driving me nuts. But it's very similar to a very popular indie game that's out there. Very nice art aesthetic to it. It'd be interesting to see how this one turns out. But now, on to the 3D one. The highest profile in development game out there is Road to Vostok. Now, Road to Vostok, the developer of this one, has been very vocal in his development. So he's got some very in-depth game blogs. I would highly recommend checking those out. He switched over to Godot Game Engine from Unity, did a write-up of what that process was like. Road to Vostok is the first real big-time 3D shooter title that we have seen yet. It's got a very Stalker vibe going on here, obviously very heavily inspired by Stalker, but so many games are inspired by Stalker these days that, so this one, Road to Vostok, is kind of the extraction shooter entry here on the list. He's done a lot of things with 3D graphics here, and that's one of those areas, again, Godot 4 really needs to get some real banger 3D titles out there to prove that it can do that. And one of the first ones that people are really stoked about is Road to Vostok. Next up, we have PVKK. And I'm going to go with calling it PVKK because I am not even going to attempt to pronounce its full German name, which was Planetary Defense Gunner Commander or something to that effect when you translate it. But yeah, that's the actual name of PVKK. German is a wonderful language of compound words. This one is sort of, I don't know, a life simulator meets asteroids. It's like this, you are in charge of this planetary defense cannon, and your job is to shoot things down that are coming down to Earth. So it's kind of like a button press simulator, life sim. You maintain it. I think they call these dad games, and it's gonna be very therapeutic to certain people, but it's also stunningly beautiful. So that is PVKK, one of the more interesting games currently in development out there. And then we've got probably the highest profile game, and that is Slay the Spire 2. Now, Slay the Spire is one of my favorite indie titles. It's a very, very, very addictive roguelike deck builder. This was developed, actually, I believe that one was developed in libGDX, and then they were developing Slay the Spire 2 using the Unity game engine, and then stuff happened. And the developer decided, Mega Crit, nope, we're out. And they ported it over to the Godot game engine. They actually did a test run, and they made like a simple 7-day game in Godot as a proof of concept, and they were more than happy with the results. So this is definitely one of the highest profile indie developers out there that has switched over to the Godot game engine. And that is Slay the Spire 2 coming in 2025. So again, no real particular order to what's here. There's games that have definitely sold better than some of the things on this list. There's a whole bunch of other games in development. But this is kind of a mix of definitely some of the best sellers, some of the highest profiles, and some of the most exciting coming soon titles out there for the Godot game engine. Now, if I do follow up with Unreal and Unity, you're going to notice their game catalogs are absolutely massive. compared to Godot. And Godot is really just establishing itself right now, and that really kind of shows when you contrast the game libraries out there, but there is an encouraging bit of Godot stuff out there. And if there's one I missed, you highly recommend that other people check out. Let me know them in the comments down below, because of course there have been hundreds upon hundreds of indie games shipped using Godot over the last couple years, so this is not a comprehensive list, but some of the best out there, in my opinion, plus Sonic Colors, which is definitely not one of the best, but it is one of the higher profile. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.